All right, so this video is for you if you're having wrist pain with working out. We're gonna go over, Dr. Jessica and I are gonna go over a bunch of different ways that you hold weight and positions and exercises that can irritate your wrists and show you the best way that you can use your wrists and make sure that you don't have pain. So what's the first one we're gonna do, Jessica?
All right, first exercise we're gonna go over is a bottoms up kettlebell press. So this exercise in general does put a lot of stress on your wrist, but it's a great exercise for stability of the shoulder and upper arm and all of that. So a common reason why people have wrist pain with this is because they let their wrists fall into this extension, right? And so what they do is they take the weight of the kettlebell and they balance it more towards their inner palm instead of having it stacked and having it more in the center of your palm. So that's what you want. You want to kind of adjust it to the center. Knuckles are straight up towards the ceiling, and this knuckle back here is kind of lined right up with your wrist joint. And from there, you're going to get the most out of that exercise.
That's heavy.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, keep the kettlebell. Next one, we're doing a front rack kettlebell press. So if the bottoms up is a bit too aggressive, you can always do a front rack. This is obviously not what we want here, right? So again, the weight is kind of more towards the ends of the fingers and the wrist is in this aggressive extension position, which that like aggressive loaded wrist extension, especially if you're not used to it, is just gonna cause a ton of wrist pain.
We see this one a lot.
Yeah.
This is probably the most common one that people are like, we tell them to rack the kettlebell and it's just like here, back here, here, it's all over the place.
That ain't it.
Yeah.
Okay, so instead, again, you want to be stacked. So stack those knuckles on top of the wrist, keep the kettlebell nice and in. You can lift your elbow a little bit if you want to get more of that shoulder involved. That's a beautiful position right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it helps with this. This is a tip someone taught me, is like if you're doing just one, sometimes it helps to kind of do two and then let go of one. Because for some reason, coming up with two, like coming up with one sometimes for people is like, it just seems weird. So coming up with two puts you in a more natural position for whatever reason.
There you go.
I don't know, little tip.
Hot tip.
Little tip, hot tip, yep.
All right, next one we're going to talk about is rows. So there's a lot of different ways you can do rows. We're going to show you on the TRX here. This same situation could go down with like a band or a weight too. So what we'll see is people will start at the back here, and then instead of pulling from their back and keeping their wrist pretty much out of it,
the right way.
The right way, yeah. What they'll end up doing is just curling everything in and flexing the wrist to try to use that forearm and bicep way more than your back. A row is a back exercise. PSA, if you didn't know that, rows work your back, not your wrist, not your forearm, and not your biceps, okay? At least not mainly. So think about pulling from your back when you're doing rows, and again, if you're sensing a pattern here, keeping the wrist nice and stacked under the knuckles and under the elbow there. Cool. Next one we got overhead press. So I actually was thinking barbell. Barbell.
Ooh,
yeah,
barbell. All right.
So grab the barbell. Yeah.
Okay.
So, all right, don't run into anything.
All right.
So for an overhead press for a barbell, what you don't want to do is kind of let your wrists fall back. So that is a good front rack position, but when you go to actually press the barbell for like a strict press, you don't want to lift from that position. Instead, you want to actually roll the barbell forward and then press straight up again with that stacked wrist, making sure you're pushing your head through at the top. And I'm not saying that you're never going to have your hands up in that front rack position. That is an okay position. It's just not where you want to be when you're pressing overhead.
Right.
Cool?
Cool.
All right, next one. So this one, this is more like if you're having pain, whoa. All right. If you're having pain in your wrist, but you still want to do planks and push-ups, this is just kind of like a tip that you can use to continue to do them, hopefully pain-free. Because you can just grab, I don't know, maybe something a little bigger so that you're not like rolling all over the place.
Yep.
So if you're having wrist pain, it can be uncomfortable to be in this tall plank position because you are putting a lot of stress through that extension of your wrist. So instead, what you can do is grab some dumbbells, and then this helps keep your wrist, once again, nice and stacked. And then that'll allow you to do both push-ups and tall planks without having wrist pain. So it's not bad to be in this position, of course, that's totally fine. But if you're hurting a little bit, then this allows you to continue to do those things.
See Jessica's amazing wrist warm-up video, which could be at the beginning of this video.
Yeah.
If you have pain with your hands flat like that. That'll help that a lot, just doing that warm-up and getting some mobility there.
For sure. All right, this next one we need a little bit of setup. Probably should have left the barbell out, but we'll just kind of bring the bench out.
Okay.
Yeah, grab the barbell again. All right, so bench press. This is definitely a tough one. When bench pressing, you are naturally going to want to potentially roll into that extension of the wrist and then push up more like this, right? So this is not what we want, no. Okay, instead you want to roll that bar forward and again be nice and stacked and then come down into that good 45 degrees and then push back up. Just
Thanks
like
for spotting me, Jessica.
I got you. So this is a super, super common one that people just fall into that, especially as the weight goes up. So really try to avoid that if you want to avoid wrist pain. Cool. Get that out of there. We got one more, the good old-fashioned bicep curl. Okay. All right.
Okay.
So this one is again similar to the rows. It's kind of a strategy that people use when they're not strong enough to lift the weight that they're trying to lift. They're going to try to use their forearm to assist in the bicep curl by flexing really hard. So something like that. Yeah, super cute, right? So you don't want that. Again, this should be a bicep exercise in this case. So the wrist should not really be moving at all. The wrist should stay nice and stacked. Everything should be coming from that bicep. And you should not try to cheat by just curling up like that. We don't like that. Cool. So hopefully if you guys are having wrist pain with working out, we hopefully covered the exercise that's causing you grief. If not, definitely let us know, comment down below, and we can make a video on that exercise.
Yeah, let us know what you're having, specifically you're having wrist pain with. We'd love to help you and shoot a video on it. Thanks, guys.